A few weeks ago I spent the night alone at home. My wife was out of town visiting her sister. It was around 2 in the morning, the kind of hour when everything is so quiet, even the smallest sound seems to echo. The house was silent except for the hum of the fridge and the occasional creak of the floorboards. I was lying in bed, staring at the red numbers on my clock, feeling the weight of the night all around me. I couldn't sleep. My mind kept replaying the day, but it wasn't just my thoughts. There was a strange noise, faint at first, almost like it was part of a dream. But as I listened, it got clearer. A soft, steady scratching, like something was trying to get in. It was coming from the back door, the one that leads to the yard and the trees. I tried to tell myself it was nothing, maybe a branch in the wind. But the sound was too regular, too intentional. It would stop, then start again, each time a little louder. My heart was pounding, and I held my breath, trying to hear over it. I got up as quietly as I could, not wanting to make a sound. The floor was cold and the air felt heavy. I crept down the hallway, my heart beating faster with every step. When I reached the back door, I stopped and listened. The scratching had stopped. I waited, barely breathing, but there was nothing, just the curtains moving in the breeze from a cracked window. I looked through the glass, but all I saw was my reflection and darkness outside. No movement, nothing strange, just the wind, I told myself, maybe a raccoon, a stray cat, or a branch. Still, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was out there watching. It freaked me out a bit. We live in a secluded area surrounded by forest. At night, the darkness feels alive, pressing against the windows. There are no street lights, no close neighbours, just trees and the occasional sound of an owl or something moving in the brush. It's peaceful during the day, but at night the isolation can feel unsettling. Every sound is louder, every shadow deeper. You start to wonder what's out there, hidden by the trees and fog. I love the solitude, but sometimes it feels too lonely, too vulnerable. You hear stories about break-ins, wild animals, or stranger things that happen out here. Sometimes when the wind is right, you hear voices in the trees or something moving in the brush. It's probably nothing, but it's hard not to imagine things when you're alone in the dark. So I did what I always do when I get spooked. Checked the locks, set the alarm, and tried to convince myself everything was fine. I got back in bed, pulled the covers up, and listened to the silence, waiting for sleep. But even with my eyes closed, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was still out there, just beyond the door, waiting in the shadows. The next morning, I went through the security footage. We have cameras all around the house for safety. I rewound to the moment I heard the strange sound. The camera pointed at the back door didn't show anything unusual, just the usual shadows moving as the wind blew through the trees. Sometimes the most ordinary nights can turn into something you'll never forget. That night, I couldn't sleep. The house was quiet except for the low hum of the fridge and the creaks of the floorboards. I checked the time, 1:52 a.m. I'd been lying awake, restless, my mind wandering. Every shadow seemed to move, every sound felt amplified. Out of habit, I decided to check the security cameras. I didn't expect to see anything, but when I looked at the camera facing the living room window, everything changed. At first, it was just the usual scene: darkness, the couch, a bit of moonlight on the table. But something felt wrong. I couldn't explain it, but the air seemed heavier, like the house was holding its breath. I leaned closer to the screen, my heart beating faster, trying to figure out what was making me so uneasy. Our living room window is huge, a single pane of glass that stretches across the wall. In the daytime it fills the room with light, but at night it turns into a black mirror, reflecting everything inside and hiding whatever's outside. It's beautiful, but it always made me a little uneasy after dark. The window looks out onto the backyard, just grass, some bushes and an old swing set. But at night, the yard disappears into darkness, and the window feels like a thin barrier between me and whatever might be out there. I always felt a little exposed, like I was being watched. Then in a split second, something flashed across the screen. It was so fast I almost missed it, a pale blur moving outside the window. I froze, staring at the monitor, waiting to see if it would happen again. But the screen was still. Only the curtains moved in the breeze. My heart was pounding. I tried to tell myself it was nothing, a trick of the light, maybe a car passing by or an animal, but I couldn't shake the feeling that it was something else. My hands shook as I rewound the footage, desperate to see what I'd just witnessed. I watched the same few seconds over and over, each time feeling more anxious. The room faded away, and all I could focus on was the screen and the ticking clock. I felt like I was about to discover something I didn't want to know, and then I saw it. A face pressed against the glass, pale, twisted, with hollow eyes and a grin that didn't look human. For a moment I couldn't breathe. I felt like I was the one being watched, like it could see right through me. The fear was overwhelming. It was only there for a second, a white blur against the glass. But I knew it wasn't human. The way it moved, the way it flickered in and out, it was like nothing I'd ever seen. I tried to convince myself it was a camera glitch, but deep down I knew it wasn't. I could see the hollow eyes and the twisted grin. It looked like something from a nightmare, like the stories I heard as a kid about monsters in the dark. I never believed them until now. The face on the screen was every fear I'd ever had come to life. And it was real. Just on the other side of the glass, it was like a nightmare come to life, and the worst part was I was completely alone. The house was silent, everyone else asleep, and I was left to face this horror by myself. I kept replaying the footage, hoping it would disappear, but the face was always there. I never saw it in person. No matter how many times I checked the window or stared into the yard, there was nothing there. The night was quiet, the yard empty, but I couldn't forget what I'd seen. I felt both relieved and terrified. Relieved it was gone, but scared it might come back. The only proof was on the camera, a brief, terrifying glimpse of something I can't explain. I saved the footage, but I don't know if I'll ever show it to anyone. Who would believe me? Sometimes late at night I watch it again, searching for answers. The face is always there, waiting in the darkness, and every time I look out that window, I wonder if it's still out there, watching me, waiting for me to let my guard down. Ever since that night, sleep has become a stranger to me. The darkness feels heavier now, pressing in on me every time I try to close my eyes. What used to be comforting silence in my room now feels suffocating, and I find myself lying awake, staring at the ceiling, my mind racing with thoughts I can't control. Each time I start to drift off, I'm jolted awake by the memory of what I saw and the feeling that something is still out there, watching. The hours drag on, and I count the minutes until morning, desperate for the safety that daylight brings. But even then, the fear doesn't really leave. It just hides in the corners, waiting for night to fall again. Every creak in the house, every rustle of leaves outside my window sends chills down my spine. The wind, which once helped me sleep, now sounds like whispers just beyond the glass. Shadows stretch and shift across the walls, and my imagination turns them into something sinister. Even the familiar sounds, the hum of the fridge, a distant dog barking, feel louder, distorted, as if the world itself is trying to keep me on edge. I catch myself holding my breath, listening for footsteps that never come, for voices that aren't really there. My heart pounds, and I can't shake the feeling that I'm not alone, that something unseen is lurking just out of sight. I keep replaying the footage in my mind, those eyes, that face. No matter how many times I watch it, I can't make sense of what I saw. The image is burned into my memory. The way the figure moved, the unnatural stillness in its gaze. I tried to tell myself it was just a trick of the light, a camera glitch, but deep down I know that's not true. The fear is real, and it lingers long after the screen goes dark. I keep checking the footage, hoping for a rational explanation, but all I find are more questions. The more I look, the more convinced I am that what I saw was real and that it was meant for me. What did it want? Why was it watching me? These questions haunt me, echoing in my mind whenever I try to find peace. Was it just a random encounter, or was there something about me that drew its attention? I replay every moment, searching for clues, for some sign I missed. The uncertainty eats away at me, making it impossible to relax or let my guard down. I wonder if it's still out there, waiting for another chance to appear. The thought that I might never know the truth is almost as terrifying as the encounter itself. I still don't have any answers. I try to go about my daily life, but the fear follows me everywhere. It's there at work, with friends, even in a crowd. I catch myself looking over my shoulder, jumping at sudden noises, always uneasy. I've tried talking to others, but no one really understands. They say it's just my imagination, that I need to let it go. But they didn't see what I saw. They don't feel what I feel. The fear has become a part of me, a shadow I can't escape. And that's the scariest part. It's not just the memory of what happened, or the fear of what might be hiding in the shadows. It's realizing that I may never feel safe again, that the sense of security I once had is gone. The fear lingers, growing stronger with every sleepless night, every unexplained sound, every flicker of movement in the dark. I don't know if it will ever go away, or if I'll ever find the answers I need. All I know is that for now, the fear is always with me, silent, patient and unrelenting. And share your story in the comments. Like and subscribe, and turn on notifications for new weekly creepy real-life stories. You never know what lurks in the shadows. Be sure to check out True Asian Horror Stories series, where horror stories rise from the east to fall in the dark shadows of the west.